This episode is sponsored by Glass House Goods. Now, I know what you might be thinking, Jenny, how do you keep it so classy all of the time? And to that I say, I don't. I have a vocabulary like a trucker. I am by no means adverse to a few good swears at least a couple of times a day. In fact, I think people should swear more often. Swear at your neighbors, curse at your courier, drop a few F bombs at your next parent teacher meeting, because who doesn't hate those meetings with all of their glorious fake smiles and unjust compliments over Rhonda's homemade cupcakes, which we all know were store bought? You're not fooling anyone, Rhonda. Am I fucking right, parents? I think the only thing I enjoy more than a perfectly executed expletive slipping through the crack of my plumply hydrated lips is an inspirational quote. That's why I love Glasshouse Goods. They make custom jewelry that says classy, but also go fuck yourself. Listen, what I'm trying to say is if you want to look good, but also feed your swear addiction incognito, you should definitely get yourself some GHG jewelry. Go to www.glasshousegoods.ca and use code Jenny10 for 10% off your order. Welcome back to Wake Up with Jenny and Friends. Thanks so much for joining me again. I hope you had an amazing weekend and you're having an amazing week. I'm excited about this show. I have joining me comedian, the one, the only, Abbas Wahab.
Woo! I don't know if you have audio or are we happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm super excited about this show. I will preface this show by saying I have a good friend, Mike. You might check him out. He's got a sweet little business called Widowmaker Supply that he has with a couple of buddies. And I saw a couple of your videos and things, and then he sent me this video of you on a TikTok, and with a note that said, "You got to get this guy on your show."
Oh shit. Well,
So
this is for you, Mike. Shout out for you, Mike. This is all for you, baby.
So thanks to Mike for that. And I have to say, your videos crack me up.
Thank you.
Crack me up.
Thank you. Thank
Hilarious.
you.
Uh, in particular, people probably know you. I want to get in a little bit into your story, but I'll just let people know that because you post a lot on TikTok, you post a lot on Instagram,
Yep.
and most people would probably, I would venture to guess, recognize you from your job interview videos.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely. 100%.
The one I just saw was the teacher position.
Yeah. That one was trouble actually a little bit. I got that one's one of
Oh
those ones that
shit.
it starts like a whole like subculture thread within the comments. Like the most out of all time I've ever done is during COVID. I did one where a Jehovah's Witness comes to the door of a Muslim man and the Muslim man converts him.
Right.
And like and for a year that thread had like it would be like 6,000 comments when I looked at it. It was like it was a Reddit channel in there.
Was it like hate comments or was it
It
like it's
it
pure, it
it was like
fluctuated?
it was like the evolution of all organisms. Like it was the evolution of life itself. What it was when I looked at the end, I couldn't even recognize or understand like it was beyond levels of even interpretation. I didn't even know what it became. It
Oh my,
started off as religious debates and it became something
yeah,
else
yeah,
completely. And it makes you believe in evolution if you didn't believe in evolution.
yeah.
You know what I mean? You're like, oh shit. And
Oh,
we
now
are
I get it.
monkeys. We are monkeys.
So the knuckle dragging then.
Exactly. It's crazy. It's crazy.
That's
But definitely
hilarious.
job interviews number one. Now they have 15 more to go look at. So suddenly all the numbers and blah, 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 they're all multiplying. Whereas like for COVID, I would come up with a funny idea like every day and make a video, but they're all random funny ideas.
Different topics.
Different topics,
Different
totally
topics.
random.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
never could figure out what I was, what it was. And it was growing. So I was like, oh, everything's good. But what blew my mind was I did the one for Tim Hortons, that Tim Hortons job interview video.
Yeah.
That one got me more followers than my collective efforts up until that point. You know what I mean? Like I'm talking 5 years of like at bat fucking striking out quickly. But hey, the numbers are looking great. Shout out to Mike.
Profits are up.
Yeah. I
Do
have
you
a
get
chart.
do you get into the creator funds and stuff on TikTok? Do you get involved in all that? Like, do you go on live on TikTok and all that stuff? Because there's
I never understood what any of that was. And from
yeah.
what I interpreted early on is that it was for only American users.
Well, they have it for Canada now, apparently. But
Yeah.
I
I
don't know.
mean, in
For
my
the
mind,
yeah, yeah.
I was like, what? There's no scenario where there's going to be a page in this app that I click and connect my bank account to, and I'm just going to get paid off that. Like,
Right.
I was like, no Patreons. Because
Yeah,
I don't know about
exactly.
like, because the TikTok thing is a TikTok specific thing. I don't want to be
Mm,
doing specific things on all the platforms. I kind of want to make something that works everywhere. Otherwise, you're like, you're losing it. Otherwise, you're
yeah.
making so much content, you
Yeah.
start freaking your reality is breaking.
Your whole life is just filming
Yeah,
content. Yeah.
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 And that's not what I got into this all for.
Yeah.
I was
And
doing stand up. Sorry, I'm sorry. I don't know if I cut you off and we miss a whole segment or something. I might.
I mean, I've just
Apologies.
been
I'm
doing this for
ranting.
3 seasons, but yeah, you take it away. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was
I'm just
very passive aggressive. That was HR level passive aggressive.
HR level. We're gonna
Yeah.
have a conversation today, and
Oh
it's
God.
gonna be a tough one. I know.
I don't
So
like that pink stack of papers. That's a termination color. Pink.
give me
I'm
the
not
yellow
going
one.
back
Give
to
me the
my.
yellow.
Yeah, exactly. This isn't a warning, isn't it?
We don't know each other, so let me just
Yeah.
preface this whole episode by saying I'm generally just a bunch of fuckery. So I'm in the comedy game with you. So we're here. We're on the
Do you
same
do it?
page.
Do you do stand up, or you mean like as far as comedy podcasting?
I'm just I'm kind of funny sometimes.
No, no, you are funny.
I
You have been funny up until this point that we
up
started
until
talking about.
now.
Yeah.
Great, that's
What are
awesome.
your
No,
qualifications?
I have none.
Well, that makes you and me the same person, you know? I have an engineering background. Like, what do I know?
Oh my gosh, good for you. Good for you. So you probably put up those curtains yourself then.
Damn right. Let's, in fact, the viewers can see this, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Those are some high quality, high class curtains.
Look at the light above, and it.
Ooh, look at the lighting.
This
Look
is
at
on
the
a swivel
lighting.
system with a diffuser above, all handmade. The rail. Oh, you
A
gotta appreciate it. I love it.
diffuser.
I love it. Just I don't even know if that's the word for it. You know that like soft thing, like a soft box, a light
Yeah,
box.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
don't know.
yeah.
It just when you're bald and you get a lot of reflection off the
Ah,
scalp, it triggers
yeah,
your insecurities and you do crazy things. You know what I mean?
right.
Now I've got the softest light in the game, Jenny. The softest.
I can't
Bald
even
people,
see
this
your
is
pores.
right. This is a bald haven.
I love it. I love it. No, that is something I don't have is the diffuser. That's could be a game changer for the monochromatic backdrop that I have here. I mean, at least yours is a little enticing. You know, we wonder what's behind curtain number three.
Exactly.
It could be a new boat. It could be a trick. Ah,
It's gray.
you got a trick wall.
You know that I don't want to leave the people guessing. You know,
Yeah.
I'm a man of the people. They're like, what is back there? It's just wall, people. It's just
It
wall
just a little bit of
for the
presbyopia.
listeners. Yeah.
Okay, so yes, please take us back to where it all began for you, how you got started in the game. I was just fucking with you before, but yeah, I want to hear your story. I want to hear all about it. Tell me all about Abbas from little wee ages up until today, and then we'll audio write this all down. We'll transcribe it, and you can write a book, and it'll be a #1 New York bestseller. So there
Hell
you go.
yeah. Okay, that's the master plan. Everyone is a New York Times bestseller. I think it would.
Everyone.
Yeah. I think if I wasn't a New York Times bestseller, I'd accuse them of racism. That would be my move. You know what
That's
I mean?
usually how you get around things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll be like, hey guys, come on.
Come on.
Everyone got it. It's a participation award at this point, I'm pretty sure.
Did you get those in school? Do you remember in school when you used to do those like PE exams like every year they have the active fit or whatever they're called and you got to do like 25 sit-ups and 50 push-ups and like run a meter or whatever and if you didn't pass you got this little fucking like patch that said thanks for participating. You know, might as well put fat ass on the bottom of it.
That's so funny. I looking back, I actually would get those. I remember I ran cross country. And just to show, we used a ribbon. They gave a purple ribbon for participation, and it was a very nice ribbon. Something about it seemed like it was still good, and I was new to Canada. So I
Yeah.
remember I found so many on the ground because so many kids would be like participation, they toss them, and I was going around collecting. I had like 18 participation ribbons. I'm like sick. I was like 60th in the race, but I had 18 participation ribbons. So fucking, who's the real winner? Who's the real? That's got to equal a silver at least, right? At
Yeah,
least a bra.
you should be able to
18?
trade them in for like the big teddy bear or something.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
They're like 50 gets you gold. You're
Love
just
it.
robbing people. They're like, he was the fastest, but he's got 60 ribbons. So you know the rules.
Can you imagine an 8-year-old
Yeah.
on the corner? Hey, listen, you got any purple ribbons?
It's just like,
What you got? What you got?
just like the bully. Just like pockets full of ribbons, like holding up the gold. They didn't even run.
Give me your purple
Big-
ribbons.
Pinky Barnes. But so I'm an immigrant from Sudan. I moved from Sudan to Canada pretty much when I was 6 in 97. And I
Mhm.
grew up in London, Ontario. You know what I mean?
Nice. Shout out to
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Beanstown.
London, Ontario, the Forest City.
Yep.
Grew up there, did all my schooling there. Went to Waterloo for engineering. Went
Mhm.
to the States for 3 years to work as an engineer. And in that last year, really kind of like came to accept the fact that, you know, I really did not like the work and I was gonna do something about it. And then it was that whole last year that I was pretty much doing open mics at night and being like in the office during the day and stuff like that.
What kind of engineering were you doing? Was it like civil engineering? Was it just
No, I was working in like more like mechanical engineering.
Oh, okay.
My degree's in nanotechnology engineering, but there's really no
Well,
work or
excuse the
anything.
fuck out of me.
Yeah, it's a lot of syllables, right? That's why we all got into it. We're like, tell that to people and watch them not get impressed. You know what? You're a doctor? I'm a like it was literally we just got into it for bragging. That's 10 syllables. Nanotechnology engineer. That's bro, what? Are you kidding?
Hello,
But
ladies.
it was such a it was a whole thing. But anyways, I have that degree, but all the work was mechanical engineering, kind of really. I did program management, which is like project management. So it's
Yeah.
like emails, phone calls. I kind of skipped the whole entry-level engineering thing just
Yeah.
because I got a hookup into the Detroit automotive sector to go become a program manager. And I just
Nice.
kept doing that kind of work. But yeah, so the whole last year I'm doing open mics at night. Eventually I get fired from this job I was doing in San Francisco. And I was like, I'm going to take this opportunity because when you lose your visa in the States, you got to go back to Canada and well, you can get a new job, but you got to leave the country.
Mm.
And on the way back in, you got to update your status to a new sponsoring company. So I was
Wow.
like, I have to leave either way. So I'm like, fuck it. I'm just going to go back to Canada. I'm not going to do like, I'm done with engineering. Like I just fit. So
Just
I was
couldn't
like,
do
no
it.
more.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just like it's good money, but it's like it's such a commitment and
Mm.
drain of your energy because you have a finite amount of like life force, right? So
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
like even if you're working 8 hours, one job may only take like 10% of your day's life force, and one will take like 80%, even if it's the same hours. And it was that type of very responsibility heavy job. You may not be there 8 hours, but it's like you're like that phone could ring at any second. It'll be hell. You know what I mean?
It's
Like
like
it was
law.
that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I'd have to go to China for this project. We were launching a product. I'd have to go to China and lead this team in China. And I'd be on calls with California while in China. And before that, I'd be in calls with China from California. So it's always like
Oh,
6 o'clock for us is 6 o'clock for them.
yeah.
I'm getting emails 24 hours a day. The project is flowing. Like, you can't just go do open mics about dick jokes when you like this whole thing. You know what I mean? Like, and I was for a long time, but it's like
Yeah.
I would have to, I
The
would have
time
to
zones would
medicate
fuck me
myself.
up.
Everything
Yeah.
would, I would medicate. I would take a drug called modafinil, which is like a very chill, like Adderall. I would,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah, I would. My buddy's like, bro, it's like the limitless drug, and I
Yeah.
tried it. It was like just a mild,
Yeah.
whatever the fuck. But
Yeah.
anyways, I would take one of those every day, and then after I finished the office, I would smoke a joint. Like, I would
So
have
it's
to do this.
all the
I'd have to
constant,
be,
like, up
yeah.
and
I'd be
yeah,
like, I need this to get in the zone, and I need this
yeah,
to break out of this corporate shit.
yeah,
But it's like you didn't really need any of it. I just was, the work itself was taken in poison. But anyways,
mm,
so
yeah,
let's, long story short, I'm fired, whatever. I'm back in Canada. Now I'm fully in, this is 2017, late 2017. And pretty much get hit back London as fast as I can. Like within a couple months, I moved to Toronto, and I'm just mics and doing it, getting into acting, start my
mhm.
podcast, The Immigrant Section,
Yeah,
doing
I
it.
saw that you have a podcast. That's great. I caught a little snippet of it too. It's really funny. You do
Thank
it
you. Thank you.
yeah, you do it with your buddy, right?
No, I do. I always change it up. It's always a guest.
Mm,
It's, yeah, it's always a new
okay.
guest.
Well,
Yeah.
hi, hello.
Yeah. Hello,
Yeah.
Jenny.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I didn't know the format either, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
started that, got into acting, COVID hit. So I was like doing comedy like every night. But then when COVID hit, now you're like, oh shit,
Yeah.
there's nothing, everything's closed. Like, so then TikTok was big. And then I was just like, oh, how am I gonna get this serotonin? You know what I mean? And I
Yeah.
sat there in a dark room and I thought for hours, Jenny. I
Like
thought,
Einstein.
yes. My girl opened the light and I said, turn that light off. You know what I mean? And I was just, I gotta figure this shit out. And I was like, I know, I will buy a Muslim dad cap and big
Mhm.
glasses, and I will adopt the character of immigrant dad and make hundreds of videos.
I love it.
And then COVID ends. But now I'm like a TikTok, and now I'm a content creator. I was never a content creator. I was just like promoting my shows. Maybe I'll make a funny video here and there. I did something called Plus Time Comedy with my buddy Max Sheldrick, another comedian, when I first came to town. So we were
Shout out
making
to Max.
sketches. Shout out to Max. But I didn't really realize what I was doing. I
Mm.
kind of built this fan base, and then I go back to the open mics and book shows and the clubs when everything starts back up. But now there's this freaking audience online, and they're like, more stuff. And you're like, okay,
Yeah.
okay, all right. You know what I mean? And you
Doesn't
start,
that blow your mind? Like, because that wasn't available before. You know what I mean? Like social media we've had for what, 10 years, 10 plus years, but when you were a comic, 20 years ago, like that wasn't available. So it's kind of that like a whole other secondary and tertiary market for you that it,
100%. There's a lot of potential to get
yeah,
eyes and fans and people who
yeah,
support you. But in that same respect, that's a lot more work that you kind of have to do.
yeah,
It used to be grind, go out every night, become as funny as you can, work the clubs, be a
yeah,
host, be an opening, be a feature, become a headliner, go to the big festivals, and hopefully you'll get a spot in a TV show or a movie or something like that. And then you can tour off people's ability to recognize you. That was kind of like the old game.
yeah,
But now it's like, do the thing at night, like, because there's so many TikTok stars and Instagram stars now. It's a crazy amount. They're content
yeah,
creators, they're
yeah,
influencers, as they call it, right?
yeah.
But now, for someone who invests all these hours into doing that, and you're like, okay, how am I going to pay my rent and progress my
Yeah,
life with this? Now, stand up, it's easy. We are building a skill at night that come, and I'm going to entertain you guys, right? But if you aren't doing the stand-up and you're just funny here, then you gotta have a funny saying and you're selling the hell out of a shirt and a hat. You gotta like
right,
monetize it
right.
in a way because you're putting in so much hours. It's totally fair for it to be your living because you're investing your time like it is your living, right?
Absolutely.
So
Yeah,
it's totally fair, but it's like the channels that you have to go through are not as direct. That's the beauty about stand-up. So it's like, But now it's like I gotta build all day. Okay, I gotta put this thing out. I gotta show a clip of crowd work, because then
Yeah.
that's how the people come to the shows. And then by them showing up to the shows, that's how you make a living.
Do you feel like that funnels in a lot more people for you to come to the shows? Because like you were saying, like back in the day, that was the grind. The only way you could get, sort of recognized and heard about is you got to work the clubs consistently, and you got to get in, and you got to know someone at the clubs to get you in, and then you kind of rank up from there. Maybe you
Because yeah,
open for
people
someone, but do you find like having that presence on social media, do you find that is it a totally separate audience for you, or do you find your social media audience funnels into your shows?
it is by far the biggest funnel, like
Mm,
Wayne Gretzky to the second number highest like scorer in like,
wow.
you know what I mean, NHL history. It's like
Yeah.
by far, especially these job interviews. Like one time I did a show, I'm like, who's, because sometimes I do so many marketing efforts that at the
Yeah.
beginning of the shows, I'll be like, I want to know, how did you hear about this? I'll do like a freaking live survey.
Yeah.
And like half the people are from the fucking job interview. I'm like, half of you motherfuckers, like, well, half. I have been like yelling to the ether for like 5 years. Half of you guys are from that shit. That's wild. That's crazy to me. And I'm thankful, and I'm so like grateful to have that. But now people show up to the fucking shows thinking I'm gonna do like job interview material. So I was
Right.
like,
They expect that.
so I
Yeah.
was at this interview, and someone like, you know what I mean? Someone heckles me and I go, "You're fired," and everyone goes, you know what I mean? Like I have a catchphrase or some shit. Like that's not what it is. I'm talking about whatever I'm talking about. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think my stand-up is way richer than what I do, but social media is so like, it's so consumable and
Yeah. Yeah.
addictive, and it's like people are just on it all the time.
Yeah. And that's the thing with what you were saying about the algorithm. Like when you have something that's generally the
Bingeable.
same, that's consistent, that is that bingeable product, that's what gets you the hits, right? But in stand up, it's totally different because your audience is different every night. And
Oh,
and you got to some degree you got to play to the audience, right? Because I mean, I'm sure have you gone out and had told a joke or set up a line and you're like, oh, this is totally gonna kill, and then it busts, and then you're like, what the fuck? like you don't
oh, for
like
years
no.
it's mostly that.
Yeah.
It is mostly that, with like a very
Peppering
rare
of,
pop, like,
yeah.
whoa, of success. Yeah, exactly. A lightly garnished with success. We'll say that. You know what I mean? Lightly. All right.
The basil of laughter, if you will.
Exactly. So that's a
Yeah.
common feeling. Until this day, you can see an audience and be like, oh my God, they're all peers. They all look like me. I'm gonna kill. And you bomb harder than you ever bombed. And it's like an old folks home style audience. And you're like, oh, they're gonna hate me. And you kill harder than you would have killed if it was your own peer group. You never really know, but you always assess off
Yeah.
the top. And
Yeah.
the best comedians are not gonna change. They're
Mm.
gonna come up and say what they're gonna say, because they have conviction in the words and confidence. Everything is like, you feel there's weight behind everything being said. Those are bad. Me, I'm gonna pander like a motherfucker. I'm trying to survive up there. I'm dancing. You guys like a motherfucker who dances? You know what I mean? Like I'm not saying I'm
What do you
terrible,
want?
but
Sweat? I got sweat.
exactly. Like I will, if I'm in front of like a fucking super black audience, I can feel I have to like bring an extra bravado to it and ultra confidence. That's not even me, but I'm like,
Right.
I'm trying to, you know what I mean? I'm trying to keep the fucking glass house unbroken, right?
Right.
And
Audience
the
full of
opposite
stones.
sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes I gotta feel like, oh, it's like a super like corporate looking
Mm.
audience. There's a lot of blazers. I gotta tone it down. You know what I mean? Like type of deal.
But do you ever
So
think
it's like,
they're looking for the opposite of that though? Do you ever think like, okay, like when you assess a corporate crowd and you kind of like tidy it up a little bit, clean it up, do you ever think that maybe they want the opposite? Like they just want you to come out and be like, so bitches, what's up? Like, do you, like,
well, that's the catch 22 and the
yeah.
sweet shitty irony of it all is that everyone booking and in a position to actually award a comedian the
Mm.
business of coming to do a corporate gig will specify specifically it is to be clean. You are to avoid ABC. don't even fucking bring up trans. I'll fucking
Oh,
unplug the
God.
mic the
Yeah.
second you bring up. Even if you're
Yeah.
complimenting, I love trans people. Mic unplugged. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, they will specify that. But how many places have you worked? The lady in HR does not represent the office. Everyone in the office is drinking, and they want the comedian to say exactly what you're saying. But the comedian has agreed to going clean, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, they could withhold the money, whatever the hell, because they're thinking about their corporate sponsors and all that shit. But everyone in the audience maybe just wants you to get buck wild and say crazy shit. And they're not expecting it to get wild because, they're like, this is a sanctioned thing. We're in Blazers, blah, blah, blah. And then you can go in either way. You can really push I'm not like, there's edgelord comics that will be like, how am I going to combine rape and babies in a joke?
Okay. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they'll
Yeah.
sit there and think
Yeah,
about
yeah,
how can
yeah.
I cleverly tie these together to make it as comedically it works. The structure's there. There's a laugh
Right.
at the end, right? But that's not how I do it. I talk about my experience. I talk about all the shit. So I'm not the bluest. I'm not the most like, I'm not like, I'll talk about anything that I actually want to talk about, but I don't
Mhm.
sit down being like, trans stuff is trending really hard today. I got to come up with a trans bit. I got to come
Yeah.
up with an LGBTQ bit because that's the hot thing. And like, that's not how I work.
You
So
don't
it's like,
obsess over the trends. You just go
yeah,
with what's authentic to you.
yeah, exactly. Like
Yeah.
I have a bit right now about like how, like I have a whole bit about trends specifically, but the whole point is like,
Yeah.
I forgot where I was at. I totally.
I
Oh, you
can't
know what it
release that
is?
joke just yet.
No. The
But
whole point I was trying to say is that corporates half the time tell you to be clean. No one really wants it to be clean, but they don't want it to be obscene and offend people.
yeah.
But at the same time, what they really want, come out and roast us. That's what I've come to
Yes.
learn. It's
Yeah.
not about do your act clean. It's like at least do 10 to 15 minutes of going around. That's why when I book a corporate now, I tell them, if you can write me a list of all the characters in your office and a line about them, I can make this way better for you guys. Because I'll
Yeah,
come
that's a
out
good
with
idea.
like, you know what I mean? Because
Yeah,
half
yeah,
the time you could just read the line that they said to you and be like, Janet
yeah.
said this, by the way, and everyone dies, right? Because they're like,
Because
Janet would
everyone in
say
the
that.
office is that's what they're thinking, right?
Yeah, exactly. So it's like a lot of times I would go have mess sets because you just show up and do your act, but it's like, and I lose all the sex stuff and the
Yeah.
death and sex stuff. Maybe I'll
Yeah,
put
yeah.
that to the side and keep the dog and girlfriend stuff and like
Yeah.
the Africa stuff, the
Yeah.
religion stuff. You know what I mean? And I'll give them 30
Yeah.
minutes of that, and it's good. But when I just went in and did mostly crowd work, it's been like the people think you're a god. You're like, you
Yeah.
could even be mildly funny as long as it's about the congregation directly in front of you.
Yeah.
You win. That's what it's about. I think
Do
that's
you
what I've come
do
to
you
learn.
feel so fuck corporate then is what we're saying basically. Um
I mean, I left it and I do some stuff for them now where I'll openly be talking shit about corporate when I'm up there. It's a clean bit, but I will
yeah.
shit on this whole lifestyle. But I'm not gonna say, I don't need to say cunt to make this bit work. You know what I mean?
Right, right, right,
Right? Like
right,
I'm gonna
right.
shit on, I'm gonna make it uncomfortable still, but I'm getting paid. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Exactly. Thank
I'm within
you.
the terms of the entertainment. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. Do you ever feel like too limited by it that you just turn down a gig or you're just like
Oh my
$5
God,
is
Jenny.
$5?
Jenny, one lady said, one person attempted to hire and goes and said, no sex, no religion, no current topics.
Wow, sounds like a marriage.
Yeah, exactly. Right. You are a comedian. No current. When I read no current topics, I was like, oh, sorry. Like you're looking for someone else. No current. It's not even that I do a lot of topical material. It's if current topics are on your fucking red tape list, I don't want to have anything to do with your business.
How do you not talk? That's what people go to hear about the
Like, what
latest
the
the
fuck is this?
latest gossip in laughable form. Like what are you gonna get up there and be like, so remember this guy named Sammy Davis Jr.? Like you need to talk about current stuff.
Trust me, these are always the most hell gigs. I had a pharmaceutical company that sells a numbing cream reach out to me. They
No one
wanted
paid
me to
attention.
come and yeah, they want me to perform for their sales staff, and it was a nightmare. I go, it's like 7 people in an office. It's 10 a.m. by the way,
Their
10
lips
a.m.
don't move.
Yeah, they're on the couch in front of me with like breakfast. They catered it. They're like, this is what I'm talking about. This is why corporates suck, because someone thinks we'll bring in comedy, food, and how could it'll be the best? Like, how could you leave this company if we combine food and comedy? But it's like you're not supposed to have fucking comedy at 10 a.m. on Wednesday. You know what I mean? Like, what everyone is like, they have like eggs, like sunny side up eggs in front of them.
Mm.
Then so it was already rough, and I'm trying to roast how weird this whole thing is, and it's doing okay.
Yeah.
Then the CEO shows up, and the CEO shows up with a fucking cat in like a travel bag, like what you would take a cat on a flight with. Okay.
What? An
Yeah.
emotional support cat?
Yeah, 100%. So
An
obviously
emotional
that's
support pussy alive
yeah,
and
yeah,
like,
exactly. Right.
fuck.
I'm like, but you're already a pussy. Why do you know what? This guy's redundant as fuck, you know? But but this guy proceeds to aggressively heckle me in a very passive aggressive type of way
Mm.
in front of as a small staff that clearly doesn't like. When I got booked, the HR person was like, the CEO said not even to book a comedian, he could do the show himself. Lol. So that was before I even
Lol.
walked in. They gave me that line. So I already so this guy's like he's got a man bun, and I'm like going in on the man bun. He's like, oh, it's actually a genderless bun, and he's like smiling cheekily at his employees. I'm like, you're way too rehearsed with that line. People are
Yeah.
coming at you about that hairdo all day long, and I feel sorry for you.
Genderless
And
bun.
then and it just got so weird. And then at the end, I'm roasting him. He's being aggressive back. It's getting weird. People are getting very uncomfortable. And then at the end, we shake each other's hands like, yeah, that was fun. And he pays me cash. And it's like he took the cash from the lady so he could pay it to me as like a power move. This is the weird part of it all. And it's odd
It's
that
that toxic masculinity coming in.
yeah, in his man bun. It was like a lot of mixed messages. I'm the man with the bun. All right. There's
I
only
shall
one
hold
bun
the
in this
cash.
office. Yeah. So
Fuck.
so needless to say, doing it at clubs, theaters, bars, any venue that has a nice stage, it gets
Mm.
dark and everyone faces the stage. So much better.
Yeah, and alcohol is, always great when people are drinking because,
A
shit's
lot of these corporate events have alcohol. This nightmare daytime sales office one obviously didn't, but like they had coffee. That's the opposite. They're
who drinks coffee when they're watching a comedy special or a comedian?
well, they gave them. I told you they catered
It's
breakfast.
crazy.
It was just rough, but
As soon
that's
as you
what
saw
that
the
you get.
sunny side up eggs, you should have bolted. You should have
Oh, that's the funny part. They got me breakfast too, and they give it to me in like a wet styrofoam thing. They're like, you could sit over there and eat if you want. I'm like, there's no chance in hell that I'm going to stay here among this staff right now and eat this food. I'm gone. Like, I didn't even want to wait for the food. You caught me on my way out and be like, by the way, the food, you know what I mean? Like, I'm leaving. The idea of me sitting with those people after that and just being like, that got weird. You know what I mean? Like,
So you guys have kids?
shoot me now. Yeah, exactly. Never shoot me
Wow.
now.
Oh my God. How was the move for you from London to Toronto? Did you notice? Because did you do clubs in London too when you were there?
Well, I was only in London for 5 months before I moved to Toronto. And in that time, I would come to Toronto 2 or 3 times a week, do all the open mics, and drive back to London. So I was
Oh, wow.
already in the London, like I was doing comedy like every night, nonstop. But so I was already kind of in the Toronto scene before I even moved here. But in May of 2018, I moved here. I wasn't like I was doing it out of London, not long at all.
And were you always like, were you always in touch with comedy? Were you always funny? Were you always like had a flair for
Now, boss, were
acting
you
a
always funny?
you probably never heard this question before, but were you always a jokester?
Well, Jenny, it's funny that you asked that.
What?
It all starts in recess in 1996. It was a Thursday, I believe. No, I imagine there was a story.
I punched this kid in the face, and then
Yeah. I was a bombing class clown all my life. You know,
Mhm.
I had again lightly garnished with successes, but you know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
was that guy my whole life, 100%. I used to redo all the Chappelle show bits and like whole at recess, I would redo all Chappelle show. And
Oh
like I was
man.
just obsessed with Chappelle growing up. And like I knew that's actually why I got into stand-up, is because working in the automotive industry for 2 years, I had such a this existential like shitty feeling after like getting
Mm.
a nice car and a nice place and everything kind of like the novelty wore off and I was getting really depressed. It was the first time I got a self-help book about careers, and I read this thing and it pretty much was like, identify what you do every day, write it down. You know,
Yeah.
when nonfiction books be like, write down this exercise, and you're like, I'll do it in my head, right?
Right. Right.
I was so lost. I was like, I took out a notebook and I was like writing, and I still have it till this day. But like, I was watching stand up on YouTube every day for like 10 years up until that point, and watching
Wow.
Chappelle and everything as often as I could, and had the DVDs. Like, but I was actually like watching Laugh Factory post every day
Laugh Factory. Yeah.
on YouTube, and I would watch
Yep.
that every for like literally like 10 years. And like, I come from an immigrant. I come from Sudan, where and I grew up like very immigrant style, where I had to be an engineer or a doctor. And really, my thinking early on was, I don't want to be a doctor, so I'll be an engineer. That was really my thinking, my
Right.
whole up until becoming an engineer and doing it,
Yeah.
realizing
You're
like,
doing it for your parents.
yeah, but
Yeah.
at some point early on, you convince yourself it's for you.
Right.
So it's
Right.
like it takes you doing it, and that 2 years, that's the moment where it all was like, what the fuck am I doing? You
Just
know what I
not
mean? Like,
passionate about it.
yeah, oh, I hate, I just,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's the moment I realized, man, I've been obsessed with stand up, and but I broke that immigrant mindset, and I found the first open mic in Detroit. It took me a
Hmm.
couple months to get on stage, but like that was the moment I was like, why? Because for so long I was like, you have to be born a superstar, you have to be born talented, you have to be born with these gifts. These aren't these are different
That
people.
was the
Bill Burr, these
concept you
people.
had. That was the idea
Yeah,
you
yeah,
had about
yeah.
how to
My
make.
mind never
Yeah.
even thought about the possibility of an art as a career, but
Yeah.
but I was kind of like, it was my whole belief and resolve was fragmented after years of engineering. This thing, if you asked me when I was 10 years old what I was going to be, I would tell you mechanical engineering. 10 years old. Like
10 years old.
10 years old. Like my
Shit.
parents, since I was 6, be like, oh,
Just
what are you
drilled
going to
it into
be?
you.
It wouldn't even be that. It'd be like family friends being like, what are you going to be? And my mom from the back, engineer. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like answering, and then I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
engineer, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they're like, good engineer. I'm like, engineer, you know what I mean? Like, and then you carry that all the way through engineering school, that I hated the whole time, but I had the thought, nobody likes school. Once I'm making money, this is gonna be sick. Then you make
Right.
money, and then it is sick for a bit, because
Yeah.
you do all the things you thought you wanted to do with money, and then the novelty goes away, and then you just fucking hit a wall.
Yeah.
And I'm just happy I had everyone. I really do feel has a thing that they could, if you hate what you do, there's always a better direction. Always a better direction.
Yeah.
You may not be like Serena Williams and be like, like, it turns out I love tennis this whole time, and you're gonna become a champion of the world. It may not go down like that,
Yeah.
but you may end up working a sporting goods store instead of selling paper or whatever the fuck, right? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
you may
Yeah.
move in a better. So I'm just happy that I was able to move in a better direction, and I really feel like I fell into a thing that doesn't even feel like work anymore. So, and but acting, I do the acting a lot too, and that sometimes feels like work. Acting is fucking work.
Well, there's a lot of memorization there. There's a lot of
Yeah,
cue stuff. There's a lot of working around people's schedules. There's a lot of hurry up and wait. There's a lot of,
yeah.
it's a totally
Once
different
my
lifestyle.
once I can really break and like really cement myself as a stand-up, you're not
Yeah.
gonna see me in a lot of acting stuff. It'll be rare acting gigs for
Yeah.
me.
Why stand up though? Why'd you pick stand up? Because you could have gone just a straight just a straight acting route from the beginning, or the straight,
Because
a little bit
I
into
never
like,
wanted to act. I never
yeah.
had anything. I never would like watch acting classes, but I would watch Chappelle's specials, Killing Them Softly, for what it's worth. I would watch them
Yeah.
like nothing in my life. I would watch them and rewatch them and rewatch them, and Cat Williams and Cedric the Entertainer and Bill Burr
Oh
and
my
Carlin and
gosh,
Pryor.
Kings of
Watch
Comedy,
and
Kings of
rewatch.
Comedy,
It was Kings of Comedy,
Kings of Comedy,
Cedric,
one of my
yes, Bernie,
favorites. Oh my God.
Steve,
Bernie Mac,
D.L.
when he
Hewley.
does that bit about his what is his nephew, who's like a
She
little
making fun of me. Yeah, 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 yeah.
And Cedric with the
Yeah,
car with the,
yeah, yeah. Can't like, yeah, that's like fun. And then as soon as you park, you put the music back up. Yeah, yeah.
I've watched that like probably 20 times.
Yeah, that is, but that and Cat Williams Pimp Chronicles might be the
So
best
funny.
of all time.
Oh my God.
But I had an obsession with these things
Mm.
that I couldn't even like grasp. I didn't realize it until I was like, why? That moment I wrote down. By the way, that list, they write out what you want to do, what you want to achieve. And I was like, what do you love to do? What I was like, I want to travel. I want to support my family. I love watching stand up. And it was like travel, support, stand up. And just looking at that list, I was like, how do people get into stand up? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now it's like Google, open mic near me. Oh,
Yeah.
New A Bar on 9 Mile in Ferndale, Michigan. Okay, that's the goal. That's the plan. So
That's
then, and then
it.
it took me a bunch of months of writing and getting my courage up because it's like, it's very scary.
Yeah.
And my first set, I died. One of the worst sets I ever had. I couldn't sleep for like 3 days. Like, you
Oh
know what I mean? Like,
no.
oh, the
Oh no.
bomb, you wouldn't even know. Like people
Tell me
leaving,
about
like
that.
it was just
Let's
terrible.
bring up that trauma for you.
Yeah, it was. Long story short, I'm do you know the term paralysis by analysis?
Yeah. Yeah.
That is, the my Achilles heel. That's my weak. That
Mm.
means weakness, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, thank you for that.
Yeah.
But that's what it is.
Yeah.
So, being obviously going into engineering and
Yeah.
being like really academic, being pushed growing up, I was always like,
Mhm.
my worth is in my marks or whatever the
Right.
fuck,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it became this person where it's like now I'm doing the opposite. Now I'm ripping all that bullshit back with my stand up
Yeah.
because I was just everything I did was all about like analysis. It was program management. It was managing people. It was managing projects, timelines,
Yeah.
doing math, doing this, that.
Well,
So
it's
it was all
like
very
you on
analytical.
paper versus you in like real life. You're raw when you're like on stage, right? So
Yeah,
it's a
but I was like the paper
totally different.
version at the time. So the
Yeah.
first set I did, I wrote like 6 or 7 jokes and I made each one connect to the next joke, which was the biggest mistake. And I budgeted for laughter. I was like,
You
it's a 5 minute set.
budgeted for laughter.
I was like, yeah, yeah, yeah.
I added in a laugh tax.
No, I was literally like, it's a 5 minute set. I'll come up with 3 minutes of jokes because probably 2 minutes will be laughter.
Yeah.
This was my actual thinking. This is how out of touch and
Yeah. Yeah.
just
Yeah. Yeah.
fucking stupid I was,
Yeah.
just fucking retarded.
But wait, but that I think that's true for everybody when you go into something that you're not used to, right? You like you think you figure it out, you figure out a plan, and then you quickly realize like your plan's gonna go out the fucking window, and you just gotta dive in with both feet.
Yeah, I showed up to New Way Bar. It was an open mic, 10 a.m. I got up at 1 a.m. I waited like 3 hours. There was like 2 people in the audience, and like one of them like left. One couldn't because they knew the room would be empty if they left, but like one had to walk away. I go up, I do my first bit, it bombs. Like no one is like, they don't even almost understand. Nothing is happening. And then I crumble because I realize the next 6 are all tied to that first one.
Oh shit.
So then I just like have like 2 minutes on stage and like I say all the things I want to say. I'm falling apart. I'm like shaking. And like at the end, I just leave. I don't go thank you or bring the host back up. I do like 3 minutes and I was like, and I just walk off. And then I have to, and then I sit there smiling as if I'm not destroyed and I was broken inside. You got to be like,
No.
this is crazy. This is, you know what I mean? You're
This is so
destroyed.
weird.
Destroyed inside. Our fucking Hiroshima inside your fucking soul.
Oh my God. How did you process it? So what was the thing that kept you going, right? Because most people would be like, okay, fuck this, I bombed, I can't go back, I'm not gonna do it. But what was the thing that kept you going?
Because like the moment I broke that thing in my head that let me
Yeah.
go, why can't I be a stand-up? I was gonna
Mm,
be a stand-up. That was the moment. Like the way the momentum shifted in that moment, I just knew. Even like I was like prepared for failure, even though like I literally lost sleep. Like I would have like nightmares pretty much for like a couple days after that shit.
yeah.
I still got back on stage the next week. And
Yeah.
I just knew. I was like I had hit a dead end with engineering. I was like,
Yeah.
what the fuck is life? Like, I cannot do this for
Mm.
30 more years. What the fuck? And then there was this big door that was open, and like I stepped through and I fell like crazy, but then like I don't know, I caught something. I was like, I know I'm gonna like this is still the door, the only door that's open.
Yeah.
And like I still knew, like my soul, like something new, that I was like, oh, this is it. This is because like I was obsessed with it, and I was
Yeah.
that guy. And like everyone that was like almost everyone I told was like, oh, bro, of course this was gonna happen. Oh, bro, of course, or I knew it, or oh, but like everyone across the board. So there wasn't anyone was like, you engineer, you know, or are you like comedy? No
Right.
one said that. It was all like, dude, this has just been, you should have done this sooner, blah, 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 blah.
They were
But
waiting
no
for
one
it.
has said anything before it. And a couple of people were like, you should do acting or something like that. But still, like in my mind, I'm like, acting, fuck that shit. I'm gonna be an engineer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Acting,
That's
yeah,
where
I'll
the
be an
money is.
actor. Oh, I'm an actor. I'm a fucking engineer, bro. You know what I mean? I'm an actor. Yeah. You know, I was like a cocky brat who didn't know what the
Right.
fuck was what.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah. You wanted
yeah.
a stable career.
Yeah. I was like,
Yeah.
if you told
Financial
me you were a doctor, I'd be
security.
like, oh shit, doctor. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. I see you. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I coveted all those things, but I was obsessed with music. I was obsessed with, like,
Mm.
I loved all this stuff, but I thought this was chosen separate people. I am a consumer. I am not a creator. You know what I mean?
Mm.
I
Like
am a
your love and your
engineer.
hobby
Yeah.
can be your
I'll
work.
engineer and watch music videos. That's my life. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah, 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 yeah. Well,
that's my life.
that's amazing that you let that go and you had the courage to leave that behind. And because a lot of people get fucking sucked into the rat race, man. You get that paycheck, you get those material things, you get the car, you get the place, and you're like, now you spend the next 40 years trying to keep up with the Joneses, and it's like, well, who the fuck are the Joneses to begin with? You know what I mean? Like,
That's a great point. Exactly. Like, I'm just fortunate that I hated it. My soul hated it so much. I was in such a hurry to get a fucking sick car, a fucking sick place. And I
yeah,
got them right away. I got into so much debt because I was like, I need them now. Like,
yeah,
I arrived in America and went straight to a BMW dealership with like a Nissan Sentra. I was like, I want to bring out the thing. We're ordering like, I'm gonna choose the
yeah,
color of the leather. Like, check it out. I was in America so little, I had no credit history, and
yeah,
I had to go get a letter from my work to show that I have a salary, so they could like give me a lease. Because I was there like 2 months when I was at what's it called. Like I showed up
yeah,
to go make I needed it in a hurry because I was like, if I'm not getting a nice car, like my soul was like, if you're not getting a nice car, what the fuck are you doing, right?
yeah.
What is all this bullshit? Why are we doing math? Go get the car. You know what I mean?
Right, right,
Why
right,
are we
right.
doing math, bro? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, so I got a
Working
car, I
hard.
got a place, I furnished it. I got into so much debt because I was in such a hurry to like ball
Mm.
out. But a lot of people will save. They'll be very smart. And then in 18 years, they'll get a Porsche 911 and realize that they hated their job for the last 18 years. So I'm just happy I fucking dug myself in a hole and did it right away, because
Yeah.
that made the novelty wear off real quick. And like it woke me up. It jarred me like awake.
Did you keep the car?
No, it was a 3-year lease that fucking ruined me financially, and it was the best. I dropped it off at BMW San Francisco, and I left on foot, and and it lined up exactly with my firing. 3 years in the States, a 3-year visa, a 3-year car lease, all ended. I was like, it's time to go be a comedian. Like, and
What,
my soul, all this bullshit lifted. It was like, it was a sick moment, actually.
what a burden off of your
Yeah.
shoulders. Fuck,
Well,
eh?
first of all, I told the salespeople, I'm like, hey, I'm thinking about upgrading. So I test drove all the beast M4s, M6s, and I was like, oh, I'll think about it. And I left on foot. I was just
Yeah.
like,
Well, I'm here.
yeah. I was just ripping all these cars because they're like, oh, this guy returned this car. He could get anything now.
Yeah.
Right.
You should have gone through the drive-through with one of them.
No, the guy was like, we're in downtown. He's like, slow down, slow down. I'm like in an M4. I'm like, whoa. He's like, slow down. What are you doing? This fucking, it's a 40 limit here. Like, it's miles, but like,
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, do you want to sell this car or not, buddy? I've got a lot of money and no car.
Oh fuck, I love it. I love it. And then the big move back to Toronto. What did your parents think, or did they have any feelings towards
Well,
you?
they
Were they
still
like
didn't get it.
you're like you're an idiot. What are you doing going into comedy and to get another job?
Oh yeah, my mom still says that
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. But
Do you think
Yeah, I
that's
mean,
parents in general though, or do you think that's more like immigrant families more? Do you think that's like more
any family
Everyone's
that's
parents
used
are,
to struggle. Like some
yeah,
people, a lot more well-to-do people I know, are like they got that sense of like, just listen to your heart and what will happen, like it'll work out. But like a lot of the broke people are like, get money and cling to that shit. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like
yeah,
I got it, yeah, like, oh, I got a job offer that's 8,000 more a year, but it's like way worse in every way.
yeah,
It's like, take it, more money, take it. That's like, that's where I come from. So it's like they
right,
can't understand not getting the six figures. If you could get it, why wouldn't you get it?
yeah,
Like, but I mean,
yeah.
it's all gonna work out. And at one point, I know I see it some years away still, but I can't wait because my older brother still goes, "You're an idiot for leaving engineering." I'm like, "Oh my god, bro, keep saying that." I can't.
But it
The
is
moment
working
I
out.
flip this, I can't wait. I can't wait for a period. God willing, I make it that long, but I can't wait for a period of my life to just be there with my brother and be like, "Remember, you told me to stay in engineering? What? Remember that? What?" You know what I mean? I can't wait for that moment.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it is working out though. It is working out though. You've got a great following. You've got, you're doing shows, you're booking solid,
Everything is superficial. There's a big, you know what I mean? Everything, but I'm actually just about to finalize on my first national tour, along with my two
Ooh,
good friends and hilarious comedians, Mo Ismail and Jesse Singh, who I already toured with on the Immigrant Section tour. This is
nice.
gonna be coast to coast, and I've got like 10 cities locked in. I'm just trying to lock in a couple more,
Wow.
but it's going to be all of November, some dates in December, some dates in January, and it'll probably just be an ongoing little thing. But yeah, I'm amped for this. This is the moment where it's like 7 years of stand up, of just
Yeah.
keeping your head down and grinding and doing road gigs here and there and doing. This is the culmination of that, and let's see the country.
Yeah. And you never know which one, like you're in it 7 years. You never know what's the night. Do you tape your shows when you do stand up?
I, ta-
Because
I tape every recording,
yeah,
and then every now and then, if it's a big show, I
yeah.
will do the video too.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'll
Because you
do
never
audio.
know. You never know what hits, who's there, what
Oh,
hits.
on the road every show, because those are all like shows.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
like in the city, a bunch of them are open mics. A bunch of them are random bar shows that are really just open mics. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like, so a lot of the stuff you won't tape, but any good congregation where you're bringing the A material and you're gonna do crowd work, of course you got to bring the camera. That's our lifeblood as comedians nowadays, is
Yeah,
cutting crowd work moments, because you don't burn any of your material, and you can kind of like capitalize on little chunks of the vibe when you're on the road.
absolutely. Absolutely. Is there like a club that you prefer? Or is there you have certain
To
clubs
be
that you
honest, I haven't.
prefer to work at?
I'm with Yuck Yucks every Wednesday,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
I've done a
That's
lot
not
of the
too far.
club.
I'll have to come see you there.
Yeah, Yuck Yucks every Wednesday at Toronto, downtown Yucks. But I do all the clubs every now and then. A lot of them don't. No one's really. I'm at the point where I'm not really getting. I deserve, and deserve is like you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
very
yeah, yeah.
inflated word, but
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
I'm more than the level that you would need to be to host open or feature on weekends. But I'm just not in like you ever do business with someone, you need to be in the preferred contractors list. You
Right.
know, like I'm not in that fucking list yet, right? But I'm
Yeah,
like a good contractor. You know what
yeah,
I mean?
yeah.
So that's why guys like me, we got to go on the road. We got to go to lounges and pubs all over the country, some club stuff here and there.
Hmm.
You got to go find independent venues, put together the show, and freaking book it all yourself. Because
Yeah.
like there's barely any spots, there's barely any clubs in Canada. And all the old school guys who are part of the preferred contractors list for however many years, they're getting it. So it's like you got to make your own.
Yeah. That's the one thing too I don't think people realize is like the lifestyle of a comedian, like the back end piece of it, like you do it's so much work. It's not just going up there and doing your 10-minute set, your 15-minute set, your 20-minute set. It's researching, it's preparing your show, it's calling, making cold calls, it's booking, your venues, it's all that outreach and everything. And then plus all your content, plus interacting, developing that relationship with the audience. People might see you on the street. It's all, like it's a lot. You know, I mean, like even
You're
for
like
the
a
show.
traveling salesman. You're like a one-man show, and
Yeah.
you're like a traveling salesperson. You go from town to town. You might bring shirts, you do the show, you shake the
Right.
hands, you take the pictures, you go to you fucking load up a trunk and get in the car. You're like, you know what I mean? Like broke bottom of the rung musicians, but it's sick. There's like a magic, the energy to it.
Yeah.
Like thinking that I would go into the same office 10 to 6, lead these open issues meetings. And like years ago, when I was 23 years old, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? And like I'm 30 now, 7 years ago, I was doing like leading open issues meetings and like with people from Tennessee and Washington and like being like, all right, where are we at with that quote?
Yeah.
Supplier still needs a week. Okay, I'm just gonna write here in the update. Follow up with Jimmy in a week. Okay, where are we at with that purchasing thing? They need a week too. Okay, I'm just gonna write here. They need everyone needs a week. You know what I mean? Everyone needs 2 more weeks. But now it's like we're
Mind
getting in a
numbing.
car and going like fucking like
Yeah.
pirates. I don't even know what the fuck you would call it, but it's we're going to entertain, have 6 shows, have a
Yeah.
drink or two, fucking just crash and rinse and repeat. It's
Yeah.
pretty sick. It's pretty sick.
Yeah. And that's the thing, like you can always fall back and do something if you want to on whatever you did before, but like you don't need to. But that's I think one thing that people are scared to do when they're so young, which you're at such an incredible advantage because you realize so young and so quickly that you didn't want to stay there in that lifestyle and in that corporate setting, and you just got the fuck out of there. So many people are afraid to leave and they think they're running out of time, you know, when they're 20, when they're 30, when they're like, and I tell people all the time, like, time is your friend. Time is on your side. Like, you could literally, you could literally do nothing until you're 50 years old, go to med school at 50, become a doctor at 57, work and retire at 65. You'd still make great money and you'd still, like, you know what I mean? Like insert whatever career you want to, but like, time is on your side, you know?
Imagine how much your family and friends would hate you for that 50 years. Though. They're like, do something, you useless motherfucker. Like, wait, 50. Watch.
Yeah.
I
You
got
still
the
owe me
MCAT.
$10.
I got the MCAT right here ready. I'm gonna break this open in 13 years. You watch, I'm gonna make it work.
Yeah.
You'll see.
Can
You'll all
you
see.
can you imagine? Mommy, why is Uncle Jimmy still eating at dinner with us? He has no
He's
job
crazy.
here.
Yeah, exactly. He's crazy and he's not going to work till he's 50. No medical school is going to take him, but that's a whole nother conversation. You know what I mean? Like, but like, I
You
do
get
feel
it.
fortunate and I'm happy I got fired. I can't stress
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm not this all courage story because I really wanted to
Mm.
leave, but I was like, I have all this blah, 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 all these obligations. But for it to line up perfectly with my visa ending, the lease
Mm.
ending, and they cut me off, I'm like, I'm going home. I'm done.
Yeah,
Engineering. This was a nice 3-year experiment in America as an engineer. I'm
yeah.
going back to London, Ontario to figure out comedy, you know?
Yeah. Well, sometimes the universe has a funny way of helping you out, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. That
Like,
I look back, I remember being so down when I got that firing, like, oh, I'm fucked and thinking blah 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 and like
yeah, yeah,
begging
yeah, yeah.
people, do they have openings, blah blah blah. But then now I look back, I'm like, oh man, that was the best thing that ever happened.
Yeah, yeah.
That was the best.
So talking about your sets here, how do you what's your process of development? Like how do you put together a set? Like is it just stuff you see in daily life? Like what's your do
Yeah,
you just
that
go in a room and hunker down for like 3 hours and write things?
no,
Like
no, 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 no.
what's your where do you draw from? Like what's your
Well,
process?
just so you know, the kind of I don't want to say rule of thumb, but kind of the industry standard is Seinfeld being like, you write an hour a day.
Yeah.
That's kind of like when you first
Yeah.
get in, that's what everyone says, blah, blah, blah. This is
Mhm.
what everyone says. Everyone always goes, oh, I write every day. No one's writing every day. Okay. Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And, you
Yeah.
know, really good writers might write 5 or 6 days a week, but like, come on, you're not writing every day. Fuck
Yeah.
off. Except
Yeah.
if you have a job you hate, I bet you're writing every day,
Yeah.
writing into group chats, writing comedy. That's the only good thing about
Pulling
like,
from your text messages.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like I have friends who will do like random entry level stuff.
Yeah.
That's like it's just a 9 to 5, and they'll write comedy. They'll do that. That works. But like what I was doing was like it was fucking just. And I respect them too. I'm like, get your money, do your thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
The way
yeah,
I did it, I wouldn't recommend. I was like, I can't take any more of that. I'm not going back into an office. And
yeah.
I was like, I probably made like CERB, the COVID was the best the strongest I've done financially since engineering,
No
without a doubt.
way.
That was my best
Yeah.
year without a $2,000 a month. I'm living, you know what I mean? I'm living, right? Like honestly,
Going back
by
to get
far.
that car.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I went right back to, hey, remember that idiot? I'm back. Guess who just got emergency funding? But you know what I mean? But like, now it's better, you know what I mean? Don't
Yeah.
for those of you be like, don't pity me or whatever the fuck. But like, you go on the road, you make your money on the road. So that's what I'm realizing, putting this thing together. You got to go out there, especially in Canada. In the States, you can go to Cincinnati, Akron. Every 2 hours, there's a market that has a club
Right.
that you can hit. Here, it's like you're in Thunder Bay, then you're in Winnipeg, then you're in
Yeah.
Edmonton. It's like 3,000 kilometers between every, you know what I mean? So you
Every
gotta,
province is like
so it,
eons to get to.
so it's annoying, but it's still much better living than just staying in Toronto. You
Mm.
gotta go, you gotta do the whole thing. But yeah, it'll once it comes together, it'll come together. Like it's, you got to break, you got to build all the relationships with those clubs. I've had you before. You ran a good show. There was no bullshit. I have your number in my phone. Now the second time around, you go and you know a better day to do it, and you know to hit the town next to them, and slowly everything builds.
Yeah, you feel it out. You get a vibe for where you're at. Do you have a favorite place? Like, is Toronto your favorite city to perform in? Or are you like,
You know what's funny? I actually just realized that I never even answered your question there. How do I write? Yeah. Man,
so
I need to stop
can't pay
ranting. Fuck.
attention,
Yeah, exactly.
ADD.
That's my next video, podcaster job interview. Do you
Yeah.
love the sound of your own voice? Okay, all right. You know what I mean? But
So tell me, have you always
yeah.
been a comedian?
Do you have a 3 foot by 3 foot white space of wall at your home? Oh, you do. Perfect. All right. Okay.
What are the benefits here?
But I talk about my experience in corporate. I talk about being Sudani in Canada. I talk about having this immigrant identity, but still feeling very Canadian. I was in the reserves for 6 years. I was in the Naval Reserves because I finished high school.
Good
I
for
finished
you.
high school early, and I was trying to save up money for university. My buddy's like, bro, join the Navy, bro. You make $6,000 in boot camp. It's 9 weeks. So I joined, and I was just in the reserves for 6 years because I wanted to make that $6,000 for the 9 week boot camp.
Yeah.
Great experience, all that stuff. But I had to leave when I moved to the States. So I was in for 6 years. But talk about that. And, talk about my family, talk about experiences, observational stuff. Literally anything goes. And when you watch really professional headliners, like, I'm shocked. People come to my show and they're like, this is the first time I see stand-up comedy. I'm like, what? Get the fuck out of your house. There's like legendary headliners out there that would blow your mind. If you like my show, there is the most, like, watch who comes through freaking all the theaters, Paradise Theater, Meridian, all that stuff. Watch who's coming through this. People that will blow your mind. Like, but when you watch those people, you realize you can write about anything. Is truly infinite. You
Yeah.
could floss your teeth one day, and 1 year later, it is your biggest closer out of your biggest shows. You close on that flossing bit of whatever, that one time you spit a lot of blood. Now it's your biggest closer. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Write that down.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Flossing job interview. I don't know how that one's going to
Spit
work, but
blood. Haha.
yeah,
Funny.
yeah, yeah.
Lol.
Close on that.
Yeah.
Underline twice.
Where's my highlighters?
Yeah.
Who do you draw from? Like, do you have any favorites comedians? Like, I know you Big Chappelle, like, but
Absolutely. Burr, Louis,
yeah.
Richard Pryor. Now that I've
Oh,
fully
fuck
been
yeah.
going back into these albums, I'm like, oh my God. Now I see all the Chappelle in Pryor. Carlin, obviously,
And George Carlin, yeah.
from the presentational and the written standpoint, his shit's off the hook.
Yeah.
He's like, you ever see those dramatic smiling and sad theater faces?
He's got some pronouns for you.
Yeah, like black and white. That's what I think when I think about Carlin. Like,
Yeah.
ooh, like
Yeah.
just crazy,
So
like
animated,
Jim
that
Carrey
physical
level.
comedy. Yeah.
But on the newer people, I'm watching Andrew Schultz a lot. I'm looking at everything he's doing with the podcast, the stand-up, and everything. He's really paving the road as far as like how to structure your efforts on the digital space. He's the guy to look at, and he's fucking hilarious too. He's a high-level comic. Yeah, I mean, the list goes on. Like, I kind of, because I'm so into this shit, I know too many names, and like I could just keep listing them. But Chappelle, Burr, Louis, Cat Williams, all the kings of
Yeah.
comedy. I especially love Cedric the Entertainer's very fun style of comedy.
Yeah.
I like to draw, and he does act outs, and I'm big on act outs too
Yeah.
because
Yeah. Yeah.
he's an actor too. Anybody who does stand up and acts, you'll see that they'll have a lot of act outs on stage. It's just kind of
Absolutely.
like we're just kind of that personality a little bit, where it's like you bring the muscle, which you're good at this thing, it could elevate your joke.
Yeah, sometimes you have to have that physical bit to it. Any female comedians today, Junior? Any?
Wanda Sykes. I used to watch a lot of Wanda Sykes coming up. But all the girls that I know now are like the local cats that
Did you
I'm
just give
like
me a
around them.
finger there, or
No,
you
not at
just?
all. I was
Are
roughing
you,
this.
because I
I was
was
like,
just
thanks
like,
for that. Thanks
well,
for
that's a
taking.
shitty
You had to go through
question.
women. You had to go to the women
Had
thing,
to make
didn't
it a
you?
sexist thing,
You
didn't
had
you?
to do that.
Had to pull the woman card.
Uh,
Yeah.
Esther Pazinski right now is killing it. I mean, I could name drop a little bit more, but to be honest, the comedy is one of those things where it's like I resonate more with the male voice just because I'm a male. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like that
absolutely.
anger, that
Yeah.
perspective. It
Yeah,
just
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
a lot of female comics I know their favorite comics are females. A lot of the females I know they'll say Eliza Schlesinger or Whitney
Yeah,
Cummings or whoever, right?
yeah,
Because
yeah.
they just resonate. So don't try to make me feel bad about this,
No,
Jenny.
no,
Okay, all
no,
right.
no, no. I honestly was
There's your
genuinely
answer.
just
There's your answer. There's your female comic. I'm out. Imagine.
mic drop.
Boom. Yeah.
No, I genuinely was just interested. I love Joe Coy's is hitting it too big time right now. I love his stuff.
Oh, Joko's been
He
killing it
is
for
fucking
he sells
hilarious.
arenas like 3 times out.
Yeah, his tour is going gangbusters right now. He's just phenomenal.
Comedy, it's an amazing time. It's
Yeah,
honestly being at like I wouldn't say the bottom. Like if it's like a rung of ladders, I'm like on
yeah,
like the second rung or some shit. You know what I mean?
yeah.
But I'm looking it down at the last rung, being like, you fucking losers. You know what I mean? I'm the worst, right? But still, like looking up, it's a
Yeah,
beautiful time to be on this ladder.
yeah,
You know
yeah,
what I
yeah.
mean? Because like it's embraced. Netflix loves giving out specials every.
Oh
You know what I mean?
fuck.
Like it's like the hottest thing now is like a new special.
That's my dream is to be on Netflix. This is my
Oh, I
dream
bet
to
you'll
be
be
on
on Netflix, Jenny. What are you taking any steps toward that?
Netflix. No.
Well, not necessarily. Don't bog it down with the detail.
When you say steps, what are we talking about?
Yeah. Are we talking about actions? Yeah.
Yeah. So no, I actually I'm working on. People have been saying I should do like a just like a stand up try, like a an amateur night thing, whatever. So I've been kind of working on that for a little bit, but
Oh, sick. Fuck yeah.
yeah, but
Get
I
up there.
kind of got into the show and it just kind of took off. And I really love it. And I love being in the acting world and done a little bit of that stuff in the past. And I have, my friends and family that support me in that and keep pushing me to do that. So I'd love to do more of that stuff, but it's like sometimes it's overwhelming to think about like all of the facets of every little thing, right? When you do so much.
Well, remember, if you're gonna take anything from my own experience, it's that don't
Buy a
overthink it.
car right
Just
away.
just think. Yeah, exactly. Don't order it from Germany. What you
From
want to do is you want to ask about their stock, the on the lot stock. Okay, you're gonna get a lot more leverage when you go with what they have in stock. Trust me. All right. But don't over if you really want to go on
Yeah.
stage, just think about it as like a lot of places are 4 or 5 minutes. Just think about like all you have to really do is get on there. The first
Yeah.
time, it's not about being funny. It's like I'm gonna go and be up there for 4 minutes and hold that mic and take it out of the stand. That's
Mhm.
really what it's about. For me, I was obsessed with the idea of killing my first time, which I was so like I don't know, I was so delusional. I don't know what I was thinking, but I was in a vacuum. I didn't know any
Well, I
comics.
think that's
I didn't
because
know,
you're a dream. You foresee your dream, right? Like
but I know, but like no one was like, bro, it's all about go up there, grab the mic, just be up there, fucking talk about the day, or if you have some bits, go. But I was like trying to construct the fucking like Adam and Eve level,
yeah.
like of the perfect, like I was just, and for months, I knew where the open mic was and I didn't go. But like, just
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
fall into that. If you really want to go, just go up, be like, I'm gonna go up here and shoot the shit for 5 minutes. And then the second time you go up, that's the second time you're doing stand-up, not the
Yeah,
first.
yeah, yeah. What was the game changer for you that like made you just relax and was like, okay, uh, not I'm not gonna try so hard. Like not try so hard, but like, what was that flip where I'm like, I'm not gonna stress about it as much. I'm just gonna go up there, do my thing. What was that moment for you?
Probably 2 days ago.
I was gonna
Yeah.
say
Yeah,
last
yeah.
Thursday.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's still like a constant battle. That's the biggest
Yeah,
battle
right?
right there, where you're in your head, you're doing,
Yeah.
you're about to close it out, do 30 or whatever, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna what did I see? What did they say? There's that couple, the couple from the cottage. Okay, I can make up some Canadian thing there because I want to open with something
Yeah.
fresh, something from the room before I get into and then every now and then, actually, my girlfriend used to do something that was like works great. It just we haven't been at a lot of shows together recently, just because everything is all and she's working nights.
Hmm.
But I don't know. We heard it. She heard it somewhere, but she goes, "Remember, you do this because it's fun."
Yeah.
That totally that in that moment before the I get up, I'm so in a space that I totally forget that
Mm.
that's even a reality because I'm like I want to kill it, but it's like remember you do this because it's fun. And then that calms me down at least a little bit. And that's all you need, not to die a terrible death,
Is yeah, on stage in front of
It's
millions.
like relax. Yeah, sometimes that angst to kill
Yeah.
comes off as too much. It's too much. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
jarring. You got to
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
this like relax, like I know it's gonna go fine either way. And sometimes you got to remember it's fun. You do it because it's fun.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so crazy how like the mental game of it, eh?
Yeah, well, I'm saying, it's like I think that's a career long thing. I don't think, and
Mm.
especially when you're selling out, let's say you have 10,000 people you're about to perform for. What's that pressure like?
Yeah.
Right? You're like, I
Exactly.
want all these people to not think twice about spending the money they spent on that ticket. That's a lot of fucking pressure. You're like, I have to
Yeah.
crush. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'd be
So
just
like,
excited to get in a room full of ones and like tell a joke. Like
you can do it. I know the spot. All right. I know the spot, Jenny. But I don't think that thing goes away. You just manage it. It's like career athletes and all this
Yeah.
thing. They know how to like stay in that zone of like you could, like you ever see like NBA finals, everyone's like every free throw, everyone's like boo, the whole stadium.
Yeah.
Fucking 20,000 people are booing and you still make it. You know how many shots you have to take in for
Silence it out.
the
Yeah.
20,000 boos? That's a shockwave hitting you, and it's just unfazed perfection.
Yeah.
That is like the final level of like mental strength, despite what's kind of like. So that
Um,
I looked at that, I'm like, wow, that's crazy. Like
yeah.
everyone is booing and they're just unfazed, 2 for 2, just like that's sick.
Do you get up there and do you forget like some of your stuff uh, that you've written down and you've rehearsed and then you get off and you're like, ah, fuck, I forgot to do like, does that ever happen? Or you forget?
What
Or
does
is it?
happen? Usually, I don't forget the bit.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll do my time. So maybe I did a different bit. So it's not a
Yeah.
big deal. I did my time. But what sucks is when you come up with a new funny tag,
Mm.
like a new joke to end the bit with, but you forget it. You just keep in the pocket of the bit and move to the next bit. And then when you get off, you did the same bits you did yesterday. Nothing has changed. And you're like, fuck, I wanted to test that shit. That's the
Yeah.
worst. Fuck.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
How long is your set usually? Because I know like most people are do 15, 20 minutes. And like some of the bigger players, like they were talking a lot on Joe Rogan the other day, like some of the, I think Louis does like an hour, Bird does like an hour so
Well, it
now.
depends on what you're doing, but like in the city, most sets you're gonna do are 10 to 15 minutes.
Yeah.
But like on the road, we're gonna be doing 30, 40-minute spots. That's why you go on the road, you get to actually do a lot of time because
It's
it's not a lot of
important.
comedian. A lot of the city is showcase style shows,
Yeah.
7, 8 fucking comedians. So everyone gets a little bit of time.
How do you handle the hecklers? Like, how do you handle the?
People always ask that, and they're not common. And it's like
Yeah,
they're
I
not
feel like that's
common.
more like maybe I'm just like naive in saying this, but I feel like that's more in the US. I feel like as
I performed a
comedians,
lot in the US.
we're a
So to be
lot
honest, it's
nicer.
almost the same. I
Really?
prefer doing comedy in the US without a doubt.
For sure. Yeah.
Oh yeah, because in the US people laugh fully. In
Yeah.
Canada, if I make a joke about Asians that's funny, everyone has to do this monitoring antenna. If there's Asians
Mm.
in the room, they're doing math
Can I
about
laugh? Can
how
I?
hard can I laugh? Everyone's got all these. That's a very Canadian thing. Whereas
Yeah.
in America, they laugh if it's funny, and if it's not funny, they don't. So I actually, it's a tiny difference. But
Yeah,
still,
yeah,
as a
yeah.
comedian who you keep doing it, you do notice they laugh just more freer. They're
Yeah.
less shackled in America. So I like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, hecklers are not. Sometimes every comedian handles them differently. So sometimes I'm like aggressive. Sometimes I compliment them.
Yeah.
Sometimes I make fun of the heckle itself. Sometimes I'll make fun of the fact that never gonna get through this joke. Sometimes I'll make fun of the fact that, dude, I only got 2 minutes left. Like this guy's trying to eat up the whole time. That's what, there's, again, it's like with
Yeah.
stand up and infinite paths.
Yeah, anything goes. Anything can
Any
happen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just it's all about being exactly true. Did he heckle too aggressive? Was it kind of a reluctance and then he heckled? You
Yeah.
just be true to exactly how you experience it, because that the humor isn't like, imagine you being like, you suck, and then everyone would be like, and then I just go, ooh, you didn't want to say that, did you? And then
Ah!
that would kill, because there
Yeah.
was that hesitation at the beginning, right? So just
Yeah.
be truthful to what is exactly is happening, everyone is experiencing, is mostly it. It's not like, I think old school people had like 20 lines with like,
Yeah.
this guy's heckling because his mother's blank blank, or yeah, I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't really have
Yeah.
lines ready. I just kind of stay in the moment.
Yeah, it's so true about like being having feeling like people are being monitored and people are like worried to laugh at a joke because they might think they're doing something wrong. Like that's so
Toronto's the
that
worst.
makes me sad for that
Yeah.
because that's one of my favorite comedians was Joan Rivers, and whenever that would happen at one of her shows, excuse me, she would always say, "It's fucking comedy. That's what we're here for. We're here to talk about our indifferences and make a joke about it, so we're all the same." And she'd really like harp on people who would heckle her about certain things, and I think that's so true. Like that's exactly what comedy is. That's exactly why we're here. We're here to laugh at each other, to have a little bit of humility, to be a little self-deprecating, to realize that we at the end of the day, we're all the fucking same. And we can laugh at ourselves, and therefore let's laugh at each other and just have a good joke. It's a joke. It's a joke.
Yeah, 100%. Like it's like living in a city with crime,
Mm.
and you go into this comedy club. Do you want the jokes to all be about like peace and everything, and at the end you walk out to the crime quickly to a cab? Or do you want the jokes to make fun of the crime?
Yeah.
You want to talk about the crime, because then you suddenly you feel a little safer, you feel a little better about your environment, right? So it's like
Yeah.
the jokes have to talk about they have, that's why I'm saying fuck that corporate gig, current, no, like you
Yeah.
have to talk about the immediate environment, because it makes you feel, it gives you a sense of security
Lightens
in
it
life.
up.
You just leave like, he's talking about all these mass shootings, and he's talking about all this shit that's actually happening right now. He's not just like, so I was on a picnic, and like a hilarious picnic bit, and then a hilarious bit about rewatching A Bug's Life. And
Yeah.
like, what, you could have an amazing set, but there's something that goes, you can really laugh and feel a different thing when it's like, wow, that's actually what's happening.
Yeah.
Yes. You got a lot of that when it was COVID, because we were all doing COVID material. We were all doing mass material. There was a
Yeah.
lot of that. Yes.
Yeah.
This shit doesn't make sense. It's like, put a mask on. It's like, but I sat down. It's like, okay, take it off. But I stood up. Like this, you know what I mean?
Exactly. Like if I go into a bit and I don't hear anything about gays and Nigerian princes, I don't want it.
Yeah, right. Exactly. You're like, am I getting this fucking money or not? I sent the 11,000. When is that? When am I getting my cut? I don't understand. You're a prince. How are you gonna fuck me over? I thought that was royalty. I thought there was honor and
Royalty.
royalty.
And he only needs $50 to get him out of the country.
Yeah, exactly. Which is weird, right? And why did he need it 6 times? I felt weird sending it 6 times. What's happening?
Wait a second. Who has access to my computer?
Yeah.
Oh fuck. I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, I mean, I'm so glad we had this conversation today, and I know your time is valuable. I don't want to keep you too long, but this has been amazing. Any tips, tricks, advice for any people looking to get into the industry, or any advice for people going to watch a show, coming to one of your shows?
Yeah. And follow
Yeah.
me on Instagram, Abbas Wahab _, or go to my website, ABBASWAHAB.com. I'll have Canada-wide dates up there in the coming weeks. And right now I've got my next Toronto show is on October 21st, so you can come check that out. Otherwise, I just do random shows every night. But if you want to get into it, just Google open mic near me, wherever you are, and just don't be too in your head about trying to be really funny for whatever amount of time they give you. It's usually 4, 5, or 6 minutes. Just be like, have some topics, have some general topics. You may not get a laugh, but it's like, really, it's about walking up there, grabbing the mic, being like, thank you to the host, give it up to the host, say whatever you want to say, and then taking the mic out, dropping the mic stand. You might not even have a mic stand. I'll just be hand you a mic, but just kind of feel that space, feel what it is to have the eyes on you, to have your voice projected, and for you to think a thing and say it, and just feel that time up there, be like, my dad's whatever, or, like, it's an open mic. Everyone there sucks, and some people might be good, but they did it 200 times. So it's like, if someone is next to you at a batting cage and they're fucking like wearing like their league, like actually their jersey, and they're killing it, you're not like, oh God, like I can't hit like that. You're like, that guy's probably put years in, It's the same with the open mic. So just find one and just be like, I'm going to sign up. I'm going to watch the other acts before me. I'm going to go up, spend that time up there, and do your time, whatever it is. Even if you run out of shit to say, that's what it is. You got to make it work.
Going. Yeah.
Make it work.
You make it.
Yeah. Fucking start talking to people. You'll bomb, you'll whatever the hell, but do your time. If you're doing really bad, they'll light you early. You'll do less time either way. You know what I mean? They'll light you early.
Bring up the old hook.
Yeah. And there's a rule in comedy. If you have to ask how much time left, they're gonna say 1 minute. Like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you have 10. Like, it doesn't matter if you're done. You're done. But if you have 4 minutes, or if you have 2 minutes left, and you ask how much, you have 1 minute left. You know what I mean? Yeah.
And he's out of there.
So it's like, you could do 2 minutes and be dying, and then they'll be like, how much time do I have left? And you'll have 3. They'll be like, 1. So that's your out, and then you just got to make 60 seconds. And then the rest is history. You'll be around comedians. You'll ask when the next one is, and then once you do that first one, you'll understand that I used to do them once a week. And some guy named Amit at New Way Bar in Ferndale back in 2016, he set me aside. He goes, if a bodybuilder wanted to get huge, would he go to the gym once a week? And then I go, oh no. He goes, no, you got it. This is like an everyday thing. Sure, you got to take time off to rest, but this is like a gym every day. I'm like, oh, because I was like, I showing up this thing once a week. The real people who are out here to get it, they're doing it every day. And by that, sure, 5 or 6 days a week, but like, it's an everyday thing. It's an everyday grind. But if you love it, it's fucking like, I'm going to do comedy tonight, couple spots. That's pretty sick feeling.
You gonna do something tonight?
Oh, absolutely tonight. Yeah. Like, that's awesome. I'm out every night pretty much.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
What's next for Abbas?
The tour. Just check out the podcast, the immigrant section. It's everywhere. And the tour, I mean, the tour is my first Canada wide.
What's the big overall?
Oh, I'm moving to America.
Moving to America.
I'm working right now on my O1B visa so I can move to New York hopefully next summer. And really start, because New York is where you go to get like your master's in this whole thing, that is stand-up comedy. So I'll go there as a nice 7-8 year comic, you know what I mean? Nice and like ready for like
seasoned.
Ready for my my master's or whatever you want to call it, for postgraduate school. And I'm looking forward to that. And it'll be my second time back in America. And when I left the first time, I was like, sick. The next time I come back, I'm going to be coming back as a comedian. And now that would have been from that point, that'll been, like 6 years. So that's a pretty good feeling.
You going to bring the dog?
Bringing the dog, and if all things work out, the girlfriend. We'll see. Fingers crossed.
We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, fingers crossed. And if it doesn't work out, just remember, it was supposed to be fun.
Yeah. We had some laughs. We had some cries.
Yeah. I do cry right now. I don't have a girlfriend at all. I'm just insane. And I made everything up here today.
Yeah. Well, you are quite convincing as an actor. Yeah. You're hired.
Yes. I've got 6 personalities, Jenny.
I can help you with that.
You're speaking to us.
Instagram.
Abbas Wahab, ABBASWAHAB _. But if you write ABBASWAHAB, you'll see it. And it's the same everywhere.
TikTok everywhere. TikTok.
Yep.
Tour
and
.com. And .com. Check it
Mhm.
out. Check out the show. Go see Abbas. Have a sign ready. Tell him he's the best.
Yeah.
This has been so much fun. I
Jenny, this has been a blast. Thank you. I like your format. It's very freestyle. It's kind of how I do it. I like it a lot. It feels like we could keep talking for another hour. It's crazy, almost an hour and a half. That's awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's so
Yeah.
fun. I really appreciate you being here. Make sure everybody like, comment, share, subscribe. Love your feedback. Thanks so much
Do it.
for joining me again.
Do all those things.
Follow Boss, and we'll see you guys next week. Love you. Bye.
Bye.